Well, that's the Connoisseur finished. As finished as is reasonable. As finished as any bike project is ever finished. And the reason why I'm only showing you a little bit is because this is YouTube and you've got to wait till the end to see how it looks. But meanwhile, let's see how we got here and pick up where I was polishing these here cranks. So welcome to part 3 of the Rally Connoisseur. There are actually 4 videos because I did an intro to the bike when I brought it home, and this is the 3rd part of the renovation. Part 2 wasn't really very popular, it hasn't got that many views. Maybe people were getting a little bit bored with my ramblings and cleanings. But this video hopefully is going to have the reveal in it, so I might add a bit of excitement. I just thought cleaning parts was a nice place to, a nice stage at which to say hello to you. So, one clean crank ready for putting it on later. This is the last type of Rally Heron crank. There were several different iterations over the years. They used to face the other way, the Herons, and then they also had an eye stamped in. The first thing to do was that they lost their eye. Then the chain wheel, which was called a snowflake because it had additional curved triangles there in each one of these, so there were the 3 more points of contact on the ring. They lasted until I think it was mid-70s, and then this simplified version came in. It's all cheapness, of course. And then by the mid-80s, certainly the Courier, when I got the Courier, it just had your common nasty chrome 5-arm or 6-arm, whatever it is, stamping with little style to it at all. So this is the last of the cotter pin Rally cranks. You'll see it go back on shortly. So we're getting on with the assembly of the Connoisseur now. I've got it upside down in the workstand. Just easier to do, such as the bottom bracket, which I've just put back together. You don't need to see me do another one of those. And the headset, this is much better done upside down. If you're doing the headset on a bike and you're not experienced, upside down will make it a lot easier. So I put all of the balls in the race there, the grease in there. I'm not all that keen on this white grease, but it's what I had. It's fine. Right, that's now sitting with gravity holding that in, putting light pressure on the bearings. And then now there we are, 2 hands is much easier. And what I tend to do is this: I'm rotating the fork. That's getting the grease worked into the bottom set of bearings, and it's drawing this set of bearings into its cup, into its race, statically, if you know what I mean. That's the pump mount onto the top tube because we're upside down. So of course I've colour matched the pump handle. So we've got the forks in now, excuse the white fingerprints. While it's still upside down is a great time to start mounting things like mudguards, because I can get much easier to the mountings here. So that's going to be next. Alright, let's peel and reveal. Oops, cheap masking tape. Also masking tape when you've left it on a while. But there we get the general idea. Let's take some of the other side off and see what this stripe is going to look like. There we have it. Very nice. Get some light on the subject properly. There we are. That's what we're going to have all the way over. Superb. Or rather connoisseur. So back next day with a bit of progress. Kickstand fitted, nicely polished. The Plesher type is the only type that I really like to have if possible. And as you can see, we've got the rear mudguard on. This is a Raleigh carrier, a chrome version of the usual Superb type, except that it goes onto the mudguard eyelet rather than onto the axle like the coloured ones do. I've just had to paint the little bracket that fastens it at the front. It was not in a nice state. So mudguard's on, kickstand is on, saddle selected, other things selected and being cleaned and painted and such like. Now I have here what was described in one of the bike groups today as one of those hoity-toity Brooks mud flaps. It's fittings, but it's a 2-bolt fitting, and the bottom of the front mudguard, it has the one hole for the mudguard stays and no holes, so I'm going to have to drill a couple of holes in here. And there we are. So you heard me speak before about mudguard derumas, and you saw the depression in the top of the mudguard that matched that washer. I'm going to show you now how they work. Imagine this is the brake bolt, because there isn't a brake on the fork crown of this bike, so this will be going through the fork just like it was the brake. This gets hung like that, so that's up inside the fork crown. This threaded part here is dangling down inside the mudguard. This washer is inside the mudguard, pushing the mudguard up against the bottom of the fork crown, hence that depression. But there is also a rubber pad for it, or sometimes you need to make a leather one. So I'm going to put it together now and you'll see it together. And so there's the bolt going through the fork crown. It's passing through the deruma, but we're a bit short on length, so I'm going to have to just tap the mudguard down. There's a gap underneath, above the mudguard there. There's a gap, so I need to tap the mudguard profile so that it matches the fork crown to save a few threads on that deruma. It doesn't want to poke too far down and interfere with the tyre, but you do want to be able to get a nut on, obviously. Now a little bit of metal bashing has given me enough just to get a couple of threads on the nut. Tightened the nut down without any washer, and that's pulled things tighter, so I can now take the nut back off and put the correct washers on, and that's the deruma going to be in. Right, and just inside the front of the mudguard there's a little extra little thing which I'm not going to show you yet. You've got to leave a little candy for the reveal. Now we're into some nitty gritty now. This is the inside of an old French reflector which I've had, rather messily, but it'll tidy up, I've had to prise apart. Very filthy inside. I'm just gradually scraping off this muck to reveal the glass. Then the reflector that it reflects onto, the shiny surface behind the glass, that's the back side of it. The front side of it that faces the glass is like this. I'll try and get it to focus for you there. So obviously that ain't no good, so it's going to have to be wire brushed and sprayed silver and then put back in. And then we have a housing which mounts onto the mudguard, This had two tiny little screws which I couldn't find the nuts for at all, so that's prompted it being taken to pieces, so I can put some new little M4s or M5s through there so I can mount it onto the mudguard. All this to get a little vintage reflector, but it's all in the details. So now you find me slowly going round, crimping all this edge and getting it neat again. Put it into context, there we are on the mudguard on the upside down bike. The other lamp, much more straightforward. Yes, there's an extra hole there. I've got something going in that. And there's an extra hole there. I've got something covering that. So all these myriad holes in the mudguard are getting filled up. Right, I'll just wipe off this excessive grease. I've turned the bike around in the stand already. It's looking a bit dull because it's got oily fingerprints all over it. The paint hasn't been buffed yet either, so the surface is a little bit orange peely. I'm not worried about that. That's going to be buffed nearer the end. So where are we at? I've put the rally lamp bracket on and the rest of the headset, inserted the stem loosely, so we'll be putting the handlebars in later in this video. The pump under the top tube, seat posts in. I'm not altogether happy with that seat post. The saddle that's going in, which is here sitting on top of the work stand, has an alloy seat post in it, so I think I'll give that a polish, put it in just as it came out of the 84 Superb. Yes, everything else you've seen, the kickstand, the bottom bracket in place, the rear mudguard with its bits and pieces, and the carrier. We still need a rear brake. I've got to make one of those up out of two. I've run out of long reach rear brakes. I'm going to make one out of a front brake. So, next thing to do is wrestle this chain guard in place. You can see now where it's got to go. There's the Superb, the Rally Superb Boss. It's not just Superb, but all the bikes with chain cases. So it's actually a chain case frame. And then there's a P-clip goes around here, which we'll put on after we've got the front on. But of course, the crank and the chain guard interfere with each other, so I'm going to have to put them on as a pair, which is a damn nuisance. Okay, so the first thing I've got to do is, that's how it goes, wrestle this inside of here. But this bracket is in the way, so I've got to bend it basically. That's all I can do. Bend the bracket and then bend it back again when the crank's in. So bend it out, and then I have to wiggle the pedal through, get that in there, bend the bracket back, and then we should be ready to get it on. I'll let gravity just do her stuff there. Where is there's the cutout, or the cotter pin. So obviously I want that at the bottom because that's where the cotter pin hole is, if I'm letting gravity help me with the chain guard. Checking now that we're all in and ready to go. Yes, we are. I think that bracket needs just pulling in a little bit more. This is the trouble with it being springy. When you try and pull it back in, it bounces back out because you haven't got the leverage. So I'm just hoping that's enough. It might be too much now. I think the best thing to do is get everything on and then tweak that afterwards. Crank on first, I think. Get that cotter pin in. Excuse me fanning around out of sight. I remember these cotter pins weren't in very tight, so they're good enough to use. want to assemble a cotter pin with its nut and washer. Make sure I'm using the proper thing. Yeah, that's its correct nut and its correct washer. Now, this is the way that it goes in. Wiggle the axle, there we are, that's on its flat, gone straight in. Washer, nut. Won't tighten it just in case there's a problem putting this together and I've got to take it back off again. Now I've got to find the hole there. There we are, that's the hole that I need for the bolt. Nice, there wasn't a washer behind the bolt originally, but since it's going onto painted metal, it's getting a washer. Now where am I going there? I know technically it's a set screw, not a bolt. It's just slipped into the colloquial to call them nuts and bolts nowadays. You call it a bolt even if it's a set screw technically. Right, tighten things up. Trying not to scratch the chain guard. I think that is enough. I can always give it a whack with a hammer and pull that back in a little bit more if necessary. Line the chain guard up approximately the line that it's going to follow. Putting the chain on at this point would just be one thing too many to handle at once. I'll put the chain on afterwards. It's not difficult with these open chain guards, but that's that tight. Right, here's the brake. I've just given it a clean up and a check over. I changed, it was a front one, it had a long bolt. I changed it for a short bolt. Not 100% happy with it, there's a bit of scruffiness there. If it was a restoration for somebody, I'd probably have to do something about that. It does have, in this model of Weinmann, it does have the little thumb screw adjuster there as well. I'll fiddle with that when I get the cable in. But meanwhile, now I hope that I've got enough here, because this is just a plate, it's not this length of bolt here is for a rear, but it's really for a rear where it's going through a tube in the frame. This is onto a plate, so it should be shorter still. I just don't have any that short, so I'm having to pack it out a little bit, and I may have to pack it out a little bit more. I shall see. But there is another little thing going on here. This needs to go on as well. It needs to go over the top of the brake. That is the bracket for the carrier, so that comes down and it will meet the carrier down here. So that really needs to sit inside of the carrier there, and then brake bracket onto the mounting plate, wiggle it through, pick up the mudguard bracket, get a washer on there, and an eye lock nut. Take that up as far as the eye lock, which is the nylon insert, and relax. That's them more or less on. It just needs centering, and the bracket centering as well. I'm thinking I might put the bracket onto the carrier now, because it might need a little bend or something like that. There are two little clips that put it onto the carrier, and it's looking like it might need a little bend. Another thing I had to check was that this carrier bracket gives plenty of clearance. One of my favourite brakes for these bikes are the Symmetric or Synchron type of brake, which are like a side pull caliper but with a double pivot in the middle, so it's like a centre pull. The Riviera has them. Great brakes, but they take up a lot of space here, and I had to select the rack very carefully and put a 1980s one on my 67 Riviera, just so that it would get past the Synchron brakes. But I'll give that a tighten up now and then see how everything lies, and probably bend that bracket accordingly. So this is what I mean. Here's the carrier and the bracket. There are two little P-clips go around here and into there. See, they're threaded inside, but this needs actually bending, just brute force. To do that I need to push the carrier back so I can get a good pull on that, and then carrier back again. Now I can feel it bearing on itself, applying some force to itself, which is what I want. Got also to keep an eye on, so I'm keeping a sight line on the carrier to make sure it stays level with the top tube of the bike. Slightly forward is okay, but the carrier tilted back is just the worst thing. This is not one of those commercial videos where this is all done speeded up with music playing and everything goes perfectly, because they've pre-assembled the bike and then disassembled it for the camera. There we are, that's one side, that's how it's going to go. Let's have an overview there. So there is the top tube, and there is the carrier, seeming to be nice and level. This is the bit that we've just attached one side, as you can see. And there we are onto the brake. That took more fiddling and faffing than was reasonable for such a job, I think. It reminded me of two things. One, that I intend to get a stainless steel rack similar in shape to this, which is made by Velo Orange. The other is that I did have an alloy rack ready to put on it, and I can't remember where I put that rack. If I'd had that rack out staring at me, handy, it would have reminded me to put that on. It was an alloy one, more modern than the bike. This is a rally one, but I do wish this was the other rally type, the painted type, which just has this fixed here, and it comes to two mountings for these two holes here. That's what they're for. So not as good as the other type of rally. I think I might have one of the other brackets somewhere, so I could improve this by using one of those brackets, but I'd rather improve it by a different carrier, to be honest. I cleaned this one up. It was a little bit rusty, bit of surface rust. I've cleaned it up, so by the time this has been out of winter, I'm going to be regularly cleaning to keep on top of it. So we're ready to get some wheels in now, I think. It's got the wheels from the 84 Superb ready to go in, as I've reminded you before, and sorry, that's just the angle poise lamp moving, and I just need to give them a clean because they're a bit grubby, and get these ridiculous tyres on that I've chosen. Now, mudguard stays. Now, I painted the original mudguard stays. They're alright, except by the time I put them on, they just, with these mudguards particularly, they were just not long enough. You see, I've had to kind of pinch the end here to match the profile of the inside of the mudguard. There wasn't an awful lot of clearance inside of there, and all in all, by the time they were on and I put the wheel in, they were just that little bit too tight. These tyres sit quite large as well. Although they are 26 1 3/8, they still sit rather large. So I readied the box and got some nice new old stock Gazelle mudguard stays. These were metallic green, and obviously I just sprayed them to match, so they're nice and shiny and new. And they are for 700C wheels, 28 inch. So I've shortened them by doing this at the back. It looks slightly ridiculous off the bike, but it looks alright on the bike. So now I'm going to pop these on, and that will just pull that back mudguard back a little bit. I've been working on cars, I call it the back bumper. So that's what I'm going to do next. And there we are. Got a bit of protrusion. I had to use a long set screw there, protruding a bit on the inside. I'll just chop that off. And I need to, this is a problem when you're fitting the mudguard stays and accessories to mudguards, is getting little bits of screws sticking out. And of course there's no use fighting for tyre clearance and then taking it all away by having long screws sticking down the inside. So I shall just zap those with a little grinder, and we're one step nearer. Saddle is now in, waiting to be ridden on, and I used an alloy fluted seat post. I was going to paint these flutes, but they're not really that distinctly cast. It's not that good a quality, so I left that, didn't bother. Got the stem in, stainless steel shaft, alloy top, which is being polished, just need polishing again. Stainless steel handlebars now in. Classic Sturmey Archer Raleigh headlamp in the chrome version, which is unusual. And the pump is not finished yet. I have something to do here, which you'll see. You might just see it in the reveal. Actually, I've got to keep some little sprinkles back for the end, haven't I? A little tweak that I've done here is I've dismantled the brake levers and sprayed the housings in frame colour. I've sprayed the levers in frame colour, and then I will polish it off. So hopefully all these dimples and the little Weinmann inscription there, I'm hoping will be left in the burgundy. We'll see how that turns out. These levers, incidentally, they are the Weinmann drop bar levers that have been straightened out at the factory like that for certain Gazelle models. So I've used them here. Here is another one from my box. So they have a clamp suitable for upright handlebars rather than drops, and you can see where that's been put in some kind of a jig and squeezed straight where it would normally be squeezed back, but it's exactly the same lever. And here they are on the Gazelle. So the connoisseurs having the same setup, but this, because I don't want black on the bike, that's going to be frame colour. It might look very tacky, but let's see. Okay, back to some real work. Just want to show you these levers for a second. These are the same levers, as I've said, as the Weinmann drop bar levers, but disassembled. So I'm just going to assemble this one for you. You've got your lever. There are two bushes here which stop it rattling, and the main component really is your central pivot around which everything goes. Now there's the cutout in your housing with handlebar shaped, so that's the bit that sits on the handlebars like that. So your lever wants to go in like that, line up the bushes with the hole, drop in the centre pivot. You'll need a little bit of jiggery pokery just to get everything lined up. Bring it a bit nearer so you can see what I'm doing while I try and look at the same time. This is Velocipedium after all. You don't expect slick, do you? There we are, that's gone through. hold that till it's flush, and now is when it's on the bike. You see, this is where the lever is pulled. You need to find the centre, find the hole and bring it to the centre of that pivot and drop down, that's not threaded, drop down your centre screw. Put a finger on it, turn it over, there it is, poking through at the bottom. This is the way round at 90 degrees that your clamp goes. Find the hole with the end of the screw, find the, see it has a habit of moving, yeah, find the threaded hole in the clamp with the end of the screw, fiddle, 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 quick reach for the 4mm Allen key and get some engagement, get some purchase on the thread. This is just a fiddle, I'm afraid. I felt something go in, now I can feel it. Pulling on the threads, pulling everything together, and that is an assembled lever. There the levers are now, installed with some rather nice ergo grips. They're not my favourite grips, my favourite are the Portland Design Works Dapper Dan and Whiskey grips, but these will do. They're leather, they're brown, and a Lion made in Manchester brass bell. Only thing missing now is a shifter, and I put this lot together without putting a shifter on, which makes it a little bit harder putting the shifter on, but not a great deal. There we are. You can put the bracket on the back of the chain guard now as well. Right, we are just briefly outside now. I'm showing you the top tube of the bike, festooned with zip ties. This is something that I do on bikes. It's basically a lock protector stroke carrying grip. I tend to do them to the rear end of the top tube unless there's something up here that needs hiding, like a gash or chip or something. And all it is a bit of old leather offcut from a sofa or something like that, I think it was. Cut it to size, squirt it with impact adhesive, let it go tacky, put it on. These zip ties, you'll see the effect later, it just gives a slight indentation and just gives you a nice little handle grip effect. And you see I've done the same on the pump, measuring it with the pump in situ so that they match up, because this is me. And who'd have thought that you'd use pi again after leaving school, but of course that's how I measured the leather, was the tube diameter multiplied by pi. Speaking of pi, I'm going in the house, it's cold here. Here it is. I told you the tyre choice was bold. So there we have the completed as much as any bike is completed. I still know there's a couple of jobs to do, but the essentially completed connoisseur.